Have you ever wondered why one of the most modern, efficient, and powerful small nations in the world seems almost untouchable when it comes to criticism? In 2026, Singapore stands as a symbol of order, wealth, and precision. Its streets are spotless, its economy is thriving, its laws are firm, and its global reputation shines. But beneath the success, an important question remains: is it truly beyond criticism, or has it simply mastered the art of results over noise? Today, we explore the emotional truth behind why Singapore feels so difficult to challenge, so resistant to outrage, and so protected by its own achievements. Stay with me until the end, because what you discover might completely change the way you see modern governance. And if you value deep, honest analysis like this, make sure you subscribe and join this growing community for more powerful insights. Economic power that commands respect. In 2026, Singapore stands as one of the wealthiest nations per capita in the world, and that economic strength creates a powerful emotional shield. When a country delivers prosperity, stable jobs, strong currency value, and global investor confidence, criticism struggles to find a foothold. The skyline itself feels like evidence: towering offices, luxury developments, constant construction. Businesses from across the world choose Singapore as their Asian headquarters because they trust its stability. Families experience low unemployment and strong wage growth compared to many developed nations. Even when citizens complain about high living costs, the counterargument is visible everywhere: opportunity exists. Economic success does not erase every problem, but it makes dissatisfaction quieter. People hesitate to attack a system that clearly produces results. The narrative becomes simple and emotionally persuasive: strict governance, careful planning, and long-term discipline built this success. Whether one fully agrees or not, the tangible outcomes create respect. And when respect dominates the global conversation, criticism feels smaller, almost drowned out by achievement. Reputation for clean governance. Singapore consistently ranks among the least corrupt countries globally. That reputation is not just statistical, it is psychological. When citizens believe public officials are held accountable, when scandals are rare and consequences are swift, trust becomes deeply rooted. Transparency in administration, strict anti-corruption laws, and highly paid civil servants are often defended as necessary safeguards. Critics may question political freedoms, but they struggle to argue that the system is rotting from within. In many countries, corruption fuels anger and public outrage. In Singapore, the absence of widespread corruption removes that emotional trigger. People feel that rules apply fairly, contracts are honored, and institutions function predictably. Investors feel safe placing billions of dollars into the system. This clean image creates a moral shield. It becomes difficult to accuse a government of failure when it appears disciplined, organized, and accountable. The emotional tone shifts from suspicion to reluctant admiration. Even critics often begin with acknowledgement: yes, but at least it's not corrupt. That single sentence reveals why criticism rarely gains overwhelming force. Extraordinary public safety. Few places in the world feel as safe as Singapore. Walking alone at midnight, leaving belongings unattended for minutes, riding public transport without fear, these daily experiences create loyalty. Low crime rates are not abstract numbers, they are lived reality. Parents feel secure letting children commute independently. Women feel safer in public spaces. Elderly citizens walk through neighborhoods without anxiety. Safety builds emotional gratitude, and gratitude is powerful. When a state protects its people effectively, citizens instinctively defend it. Strict laws, heavy fines, and tough enforcement are often justified through this lens. Critics may call certain penalties excessive, but supporters point to the results: peace and order. In a chaotic world where violence and instability dominate headlines, Singapore feels controlled and calm. That calmness becomes a national identity. It is difficult to criticize harshly when daily life feels protected. Fear is absent, and in its place stands stability. And stability, for many, outweighs abstract debates about freedom or policy nuance. Infrastructure that feels futuristic. From transport to digital services, Singapore functions with precision. Changi Airport is consistently celebrated as one of the world's best airports, symbolizing national efficiency. The MRT system runs with remarkable punctuality. Roads are smooth. Government services are digitized and fast. Even green spaces are carefully designed. This daily experience of seamless functionality shapes public perception. When systems work, frustration decreases. Citizens spend less time fighting bureaucracy and more time living productively. Infrastructure becomes emotional proof that leadership plans for the long term. Critics may argue about costs or priorities, but they cannot easily deny visible excellence. Tourists leave impressed. Investors leave confident. Residents move through a city that feels engineered for success. In many nations, infrastructure decay fuels anger. In Singapore, constant upgrading creates pride. Pride makes criticism emotionally harder. When trains arrive on time, flights connect smoothly, and public housing blocks are clean and maintained, the narrative of competence becomes deeply convincing. High home ownership through public housing. The Housing and Development Board transformed Singapore's housing landscape. In a country once filled with overcrowded settlements, modern apartment communities now house the majority of citizens. Home ownership rates are among the highest globally. That ownership creates emotional investment. When people own property, they care about stability, rising values, and national reputation. Critics highlight affordability concerns, especially for younger generations, yet the larger picture remains powerful. Most Singaporeans are homeowners. These flats are not temporary shelters, they are long-term assets tied to retirement planning and family security. Neighborhoods include schools, parks, food centers, and transport links, building not just houses, but communities. Ownership fosters belonging. Belonging reduces revolutionary anger. When citizens feel they have something significant to lose, they become cautious about dismantling the system. The housing model, therefore, acts as a stabilizing force. It is difficult to fiercely criticize a structure that has given millions a tangible stake in the nation's progress. The legacy of foundational leadership. The influence of Lee Kuan Yew still shapes the national mindset. His narrative was clear and emotionally compelling. Survival required discipline, unity, and tough decisions. Singapore was a small, vulnerable island with no natural resources. Success, therefore, had to be engineered. This origin story still echoes in public discourse. Many citizens internalize the belief that strict governance saved the nation from instability. When criticism arises, it often collides with this deeply rooted historical memory. Supporters argue that without firm policies, Singapore might never have achieved prosperity. Whether one agrees entirely or not, the emotional power of that founding story cannot be ignored. It frames discipline as necessity, not oppression. It frames control as protection. National identity is intertwined with the idea that hard choices built modern success. Criticizing the system can feel, to some, like disrespecting the sacrifices that shaped it. That emotional connection makes open condemnation far more complicated. Meritocracy as a core belief. Singapore promotes itself as a meritocratic society where performance determines success. From rigorous exams to competitive scholarships, the message is clear: work hard, and you can rise. Even though debates exist about inequality and pressure, the belief in meritocracy remains powerful. When citizens feel advancement is based on effort rather than favoritism, resentment softens. Families push children to study, compete, and excel, believing the system rewards achievement. Critics point out stress and intense competition, yet supporters argue that these standards built global competitiveness. This shared belief shapes national psychology. If people perceive fairness, they tolerate strictness. The emotional contract becomes transactional, discipline in exchange for opportunity. That perception, whether perfectly accurate or not, strengthens trust in institutions. It reduces anger rooted in perceived injustice. And when injustice feels minimal, large-scale criticism loses emotional fuel. Efficient crisis management. During global disruptions, financial crises, pandemics, geopolitical shocks, Singapore's government has often responded swiftly and decisively. Policies are announced clearly. Financial support is structured. Public communication remains organized. This pattern builds confidence. In moments when other nations appear chaotic or divided, Singapore projects calm control. Citizens remember these moments. They remember stability during uncertainty. Efficient crisis management creates emotional reassurance. It tells people the system works under pressure. That reassurance becomes protective armor against criticism. Even skeptics may concede, they handled that well. In politics, competence can silence opposition more effectively than rhetoric. When people believe their leaders can navigate storms, they hesitate to demand radical change. Trust formed during crisis lingers long after headlines fade. Strategic global positioning. Despite its small size, Singapore holds significant global influence. It serves as a financial hub, shipping center, and diplomatic bridge between East and West. Its neutrality and pragmatic foreign policy attract multinational corporations and global institutions. This international respect strengthens domestic pride. Citizens see their country mentioned in global rankings, summits, and trade agreements. The contrast between small landmass and massive influence inspires admiration. Criticism, in such an environment, feels almost unpatriotic to some. When the world appears to value and trust the nation, internal doubts are overshadowed. International prestige acts as validation. It reinforces the idea that the model works. And when external voices consistently praise a country's stability and efficiency, internal critics must speak even louder to be heard. Strict laws framed as protection. Singapore's legal system is known for its firmness. Heavy fines, strict regulations, and serious penalties send a clear message: order matters. Supporters argue that these laws protect social harmony in a dense, multicultural society. Clean streets, low vandalism, minimal public disorder, these outcomes are cited as proof. Critics see limits on expression, but many citizens see safety and predictability. The emotional framing is crucial. Laws are presented not as punishment, but as protection. They are portrayed as safeguards against chaos. In a region with diverse ethnic and religious communities, stability becomes sacred. When order is preserved, daily life feels smooth. That smoothness makes harsh criticism less emotionally urgent. For many residents, the trade-off feels acceptable. High-quality education system. Singapore's education system consistently ranks near the top globally. Students perform strongly in mathematics, science, and reading. Schools are well-funded, structured, and competitive. Families see tangible results: university placements, scholarships, international recognition. Education becomes both ladder and shield. When children succeed, parents feel validated. Critics mention stress and pressure, yet the global performance data strengthens national confidence. A system that produces world-class results is difficult to dismiss outright. Academic excellence feeds economic growth, which then reinforces national pride. The cycle becomes self-sustaining. Success in classrooms translates into success in global markets. That connection makes criticism more nuanced and less explosive. Healthcare efficiency and accessibility. Singapore's healthcare system blends public support with personal responsibility. Hospitals are modern, technology-driven, and generally efficient. Waiting times are often shorter than in many developed nations. Citizens contribute to medical savings schemes, creating a sense of shared responsibility. During health crises, coordination appears structured and decisive. When people trust that they will receive competent care, anxiety decreases. Healthcare security builds emotional comfort. It reduces one of life's greatest fears: illness without support. Critics debate costs and models, yet overall performance remains strong. That strength reinforces the image of a well-managed state. When fundamental needs are met reliably, dissatisfaction struggles to dominate the national mood. Urban planning with long-term vision. One of the most powerful reasons Singapore is difficult to criticize in 2026 is its extraordinary commitment to long-term urban planning. Singapore does not simply build for today, it designs for decades ahead. Land is scarce, yet every square meter feels intentional. Residential towers rise beside carefully preserved green parks. Water reservoirs double as recreational spaces. Highways flow beneath landscaped bridges. Even future population growth is mapped with precision. This visible foresight creates deep psychological reassurance. Citizens feel that their leaders are not reacting blindly, but thinking strategically about tomorrow's needs. When floods are prevented through advanced drainage systems, when public transport expansions are announced years before congestion becomes unbearable, trust quietly strengthens. Critics may debate redevelopment projects or rising density, but they cannot deny the coherence of the master plan. The city feels engineered rather than accidental. And that feeling matters. When people believe their future is organized and protected, fear diminishes. Without fear, anger weakens. In such an environment, criticism becomes more cautious, more measured, because the evidence of thoughtful planning surrounds everyone, every single day.